Good evening, everybody. My name is Nick Overby. You are now tuned in to the New Agent Podcast. So this episode's a little bit different for the simple fact that it's
not that new.
Exactly.
The old man.
Well, and that was moving into the agent spotlight, which is what we're doing tonight, that was the idea. I want to give other agents an opportunity to talk, show themselves.
Sure.
But I've had a lot of people ask about you.
Yeah, I'm here to disappoint them tremendously.
I highly doubt that. But
Perry Lunsford, disappointing people since 1990.
Okay, fair enough. So I mentioned to you earlier, the idea behind the podcast was always just documentation.
Sure.
Having some fun. So let's start with who's Perry Lunsford?
Which one? There's Perry the daddy. Wait, there's Perry the dad. There's Perry the daddy. There's Perry the husband. There's Perry the make sure people don't do dumb shit in the lion's den. I don't know, man. I'm just a guy whose goal is to just enrich the people's lives around me and do no harm. That's it. Just trying to change your grandkids' lives. That's it. That's my goal. That's it.
I think that from my own personal testimony, everybody here listening will agree with that, because for me, you've done that for me.
Well, we'll see. We got some time.
Touche.
Excited.
It's been now officially 9 months. Today is the 24th. I got hired by Derek on the 24th. So today, 10 months today. I'm sorry. I started officially August 1st, and that was the first day I met you.
Thanks. Nice.
Which was, I think, not as didn't go as planned, because normally you don't come into the den without meeting Perry.
Yeah, typically. Yeah, that was weird. I don't know how that went down.
It's fortunately
I liked it. I mean, I was like, hey, I'm busy, so anything that comes off of my plate makes my day, especially a cool fucker like you, man.
Makes me
happy.
And guys, look, I mean, I can be as scripted or as not free flowing as possible, but I think everybody here knows the impact that Perry not only has had on my life, but personally everybody in this room, which is, I think, the calling for people wanting to see you, right?
Maybe.
So the leadership and the culture here are two things that are talked about quite often. Okay.
Right.
And, Nick Gardner told me one time, he said, what's interesting about Perry is when he sits in a picture, he's always in the back.
That's true. Yeah.
And so that leads me to ask, what's your story with leadership? Because I know that you've done quite a bit, right? But
yeah, I was in the Air Force for 10 years. I think in 10 years I can think of one good leader. Like, what I really learned about leadership from the military was what not to do. I had a stepdad who was like uber charismatic. He wasn't a leader at all, but he was really charismatic. I had a father who was a small business owner and had entrepreneurial moments like they talk about in the E-Myth. It wasn't a great businessman. But I was able to, I think my leadership quality is, a combination of these two, try to take the best of these two guys. But I've always felt like, man, if I take ownership of everything, and I remember the first guy I ever fired, it was the first real business I ever built, right? Incorporated. And this guy was part of the company before I bought it and started changing it. And I wanted to make sure that it was my fault that I covered every single base that could be my fault before I let this guy go, so that it was 100% his fault. And I think where I'm going with this. So my leadership quality, or the way that I try to lead people, is just by making sure that I cover every base of giving that person the opportunity to do what's necessary before we move into a punishment phase. Mm-hmm. Right. And so if I go back to that first guy that I ever had to let go, I love firing people. I genuinely do. Because that means I have exhausted every single avenue of me trying to decide what I can do better to fix this person's problem before I let them go. Now, in this world, I mean, I've let a couple of people go, but for the most part, It's just a following through of how can I help this person? How can I help this person? How can I help this person? And then once they get traction, they take off. I didn't do anything except make sure that I covered all my bases, right?
Yeah.
I mean, especially in a world like this, people are either successful or they're not. And as long as I just continually remind them that it's their responsibility to be successful and not mine, and then cover all of my bases so that I don't have to, I don't like feeling bad about anything. I don't like feeling bad about the choices other people make. I don't like feeling bad about the choices I make. So I just always want to give all that I can to that person. But just like with your son, right? If your son grows up into a great guy, that's not because of you. Right? He made those choices. All you could do is point him in the right direction here and there, set boundaries. And then when people start getting close to those boundaries, you go, hey, bro, what the hell are you doing? Right. So I'm not sure if I said anything at all, Nick.
It was because it made me think really to the point of, so you said you had two men who kind of you idolized in a sense growing up, but the people that
I don't know if I idolized them, but they were the men that I had.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
So you have a very interesting perspective on life, and you genuinely, and I've spoken about this before, and it's kind of hard to explain, but you just genuinely have a genuine feeling about you, and that's very rare. I think it's fair to say, right?
Sure, I think you're right.
How did that come about? Is this you, or because you didn't?
So I was 24 years old. I was just an angry. I was a version of those two men, and that was it. And I decided that there was nothing wrong with those two men. I had my anger from my stepdad and my content with life from my biological father. But my mom taught us to strive for more, right? Her father was he was an officer in the military. And so I learned to strive for more from her. And then I learned my charisma from one and my content. But then I just wanted to be more. And the first step was I decided that I was at 24 years old. So I'm 46 right now. At 24, I decided I was never going to go to bed again unless I could name what I did that day to be a better person mentally and physically. So that's what started. It was, how do I be every single day? How do I be a better person mentally or physically? I would have to tell myself what it was before bed every single night. And if I couldn't think of anything, I'd put an audiobook in and go for a 3 or 5 mile jog. Right. That was it. And so it started with that. And then you put on top of there that anything you wanted to know, there was books out there, right? Why don't I just read that?
Especially,
right. I mean, if I need to know how to rewire a house, I'll just buy a book, right? If I wanted to learn the stock market, so I bought a book, right? I bought a bunch of books, and that was before Amazon. I decided to learn the stock market when I was living in Korea, and so I had to order a whole bunch of books on dial-up internet, and they all showed up, and I read every single book. First, I read every single book they had in the library in Korea. Then I bought all these books and read them, and then put them, then I gave them to the library so that the next people could read them. Probably no one ever did. And then I went out there and lost all my money. So
but
that didn't work out.
That's the journey of where you've gotten to now.
Yeah, but that's the journey. It was just nonstop. And then over time, these books just turn into hundreds of books.
Best book you've ever written? Or
read. Sorry. What's the best book I've ever read?
Yes, sir.
I would say I've got most important books, not best books. The first most important book I ever read was called The E-Myth. It doesn't really apply to me now, but at the time it was super important. It was what I needed to read to take me from the son of a business owner to being an entrepreneur. Okay. Yeah. Which is what The E-Myth is about. The most important book in my life right now is called Relentless by Tim Grover. It's I learned a long time ago, not long enough ago, to be super fucking picky about the friends that I have, because anyone who, for the most part, isn't an entrepreneur is going to hate me. Right? Entrepreneurs, they're special because they want to be better, because if they don't get better, they get broke.
Exactly.
Right? But the rest of the world they're not interested in being better. They're not interested in someone challenging them. They're not interested in someone pointing out, hey, I don't know if you've noticed this, but when you do this, if you made that tiny little change, maybe your life would be a little better. I don't know. The rest of the world gets upset about that, but entrepreneurs say thank you. And just since I was a kid, I think differently than everyone else. To me, ADD and dyslexia is a superpower, right? And everybody's running around force feeding their kids all this medicine to make their superpower go away because for some reason they think that A's and B's are important, when the truth is what you learned in school is the absolute least important thing you will ever freaking learn. The most important thing I learned in school was how to cheat on a spelling test. Like, that's the most important thing I learned in school.
Boobs. That was my most important thing.
Well, yeah.
Boobs.
Well, yeah. But you mean you were going to learn that either way, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But learning, if I'm in 5th grade and I am able to outsmart a 35-year-old woman so that I can pass this test, that's important. It's important to learn to outsmart a 35-year-old woman. Now, let's get fair. There's 20 other kids in this classroom, so I don't have to be smarter than her. I just have to be smarter than her when she's not looking, right? So
yeah.
That's the most important thing I learned in school. The other most important thing I learned in school was, was leadership from coaches, from bad coaches, from being the captain of the swim team, right? Those are the things that we learn. Boobs is actually another most important thing. How to get laid, like how to chase chicks. That's your first sales job.
Yeah.
Like that. That's the one thing, like millennials don't have it as much as as the rest of us did, or at least, I don't know. How old are you?
36.
Yeah. So you didn't have a cell phone in high school, did you?
No, absolutely not.
Right.
No.
So when you had to meet a chick, you had to go, hey,
we were like,
what's up? And then she'd kick you in the junk and you'd be like, all right, I got to learn to do better at that.
Yeah.
Now they just swipe right and they think they're a stud, right?
Exactly. So, there's the instant gratification thing is just,
sure.
Ridiculous.
I mean, it just changes things. It's no big deal. We make our living off of social media. So whatever, I made a living. I built a company off of MySpace and Google AdWords, and then I did it off of Groupon, and now we're doing it off of Facebook. At you now. It's all the same thing. Yeah.
So I get people that ask, this is something I'm curious to know. So the Lion's Den, right?
Yeah.
The den, where did that come from?
The name, the Lions, or the whole idea?
The idea, yeah.
This is a remake of what I did before. This is a remake of the same thing I did at the gym. The problem with the gyms was, and I still feel horrible about this because I had these kids that worked with me at the gyms, and it was, the attitude, everything was exactly the same as it was here. The problem was, I had to pay them all a salary plus commissions. And so there was no real incentive for them to become an entrepreneur, because at the end of the day, if they didn't do well, they still got their salary. And
was that enough to live on though?
Yeah. We learn along the way. One of the things I had to learn was I was overpaying on salary and underpaying on commissions. That said, would those people have come back then? Probably not. It was the gym business, right? But here, so I really feel like, I built the culture and everything was great, but I still feel like I let those people down. I didn't do a good enough job of training them. I feel like I was lazy. I feel like I let shit slide that I wouldn't. And I know you're looking at me like that doesn't sound like you at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
But it doesn't sound like me because I won't make the same freaking mistake twice. Right? I've lost businesses from letting shit slide, and I will never ever let anything slide again. Now, it doesn't mean that I get angry if somebody messes up, right? When you see me angry, it's me just sitting there quietly. Now, in my head, there's this incredible Hulk guy throwing stuff across the room. But for the most part, it's just me getting quiet, going, okay, let's be emotionally mature here. But that's because of the fuck ups I did in my old businesses. And I feel like, and I will never make those same mistakes again, which I just said. But I care about you too much to let you get away with bullshit.
And that's true though. I mean, like, it's genuine. You're genuine when you say that, because every day you walk around this building and hold people accountable.
Yeah. And they hold me accountable.
Fuck yeah.
Right. I mean, my mentors, you're my mentor, right? Everyone in this room, all the Lions, those are my mentors. I learn from you guys every single day. Every single time I have to go in there and do training, I come out of there smarter than I went in. Right. Somebody challenges me and I go, oh, you know what? You might be right. I just took it for granted that I knew what I was talking about, but maybe I don't.
I mean, you taught me to accept that I am full of shit. You truly, you
are way less full of shit than you used to be.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it starts by keeping each other accountable, but by being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you're good at that because you just don't have a filter. Well, like you do, but
right. No, I don't have
bullshit.
as much of a filter as the other average person, which is why I know I'm an emotional child and I know that I'm emotionally immature. So, but I am mature enough to limit my exposure to the things that drive me nuts.
Yeah.
Right.
You're self-aware. Yeah.
Right. So I love Facebook. I love Facebook. I really do. But when I flip through Facebook, it's mostly like chicks in bikinis who squat. I don't, if you have an opinion about Donald Trump or whatever the guy's name is, who's president now, I haven't bothered to learn it yet. If you have an opinion about him, I immediately hide you. I don't care. Yeah. Right. I'll let you get away one time. If you don't like, if you're griping because people are wearing masks, if you're griping because people aren't wearing masks, I am too much of a child to not jump in this ant pile. So I just hide it. Right. So I don't have to deal with the bullshit because I know I'm not man enough to not jump in there.
Well, and as much as you do around here, you don't have the energy for that shit.
No. You know, a few weeks ago, it occurred to me, I'm like, I feel stupid. We're not growing. We're not doing what we need to do. What am I doing wrong? Right. It always comes back to that. What am I doing wrong? And I was like, you know what the problem is like, I am multitasking like crazy. But nobody can multitask. Like we all want to pretend like, well, I can multitask. No, maybe you can be a little bit better at it than most people. Maybe I'm a little better at it than most people, but you can't. It's bullshit. Nobody can do that. So I've been trying really hard to focus on one thing at a time. And I think it's making a difference around here. And then, you know, we've made a lot of changes. We always make a lot of changes.
So that means we're growing.
Yeah, we're supposed to change.
So I've had a couple of guys that run agencies that have commented on our posts, or at least, I'm sorry, on my videos, that a lot of them ask the culture, right? And the physical culture, because everybody's like, we live in cubicles, and it's pretty typical of what you hear.
Shit.
You know, right? I mean, it sucks. So, because you didn't just think of one day, oh, I want to create this open office space. There was a reason behind it, right? What was that reason?
Well, number one, always cubicles are where people go to die and where people go to lie. And this is an industry where we, you know, if you watch any superhero show, I like superhero shows, the only shows I really watch, right? I don't watch TV, but you give me a good superhero show, especially like with flawed superheroes, I'm all in. But I think of what we do, we're like superheroes, right? We have a lot of power, and with that power, we can either save lives or we can kill people. And people, when you think with your own pocketbook and you let your ethics like slip for we're just going to let our ethics slip this once. You may have killed somebody and you don't even know when.
You're absolutely fucking true.
And that's
so right.
What we do, I swear, somehow this is the only office out there that really absolutely 100% of the time is driven by ethics. And a big part of that is that we don't have cubicles. Now, there can be people running offices all over the country and they watch this thing and they're like, fuck you, dude. My office is run with ethics. And the truth is, you don't know what your office is doing, because that's what the whole point of cubicles are. It's for little cave dwelling animals to go hide in their little cave and do whatever the hell they want to do. So if you can't hear every single thing that every single person is saying, or even more important than that, you know, when we're at this level, it's got to be where somebody is listening to you, right? And then that person is being listened to by you. And we are all self-governing and checking each other. And if you get rid of that, everything's gone. The ethics, the everything's gone. Now, the whole point of the healthy insurance dude, I knew when I started, I was like, I'm nobody until I have at least 100 reviews. So all that mattered to me was getting reviews, right? Which means do the right thing, do the right thing, do the right thing, do the right thing. And do it for everybody, because, you know, I don't know, most of a giant percentage of the reviews that we have are people that we never sold a policy to.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. It's just people,
right thing,
we get them on the phone, help them, get them on the phone, help them.
Yep.
And the other thing was, that was the way I learned everything there was to know about health insurance, was to get everybody on the phone and help them and say, you know what, I'm not sure yet. Let me make a phone call. There's actually only one person who knows more than me. And there's like a lot of those one persons, but I'm going to call that person and I'm going to call you right back. And then I would call whoever seemed like the expert at the time on that. And so, so the whole point of this was to just create a place that people, what if I could build a place that people didn't want to go home from? What if I could build a place where people felt really good about what they do?
Yeah, I mean, I said it the other day.
What if it's got a good view? What if? Right.
No, I interrupted.
No, I was contributing. Yeah.
I don't think anybody that comes into this office, at least that's here and doing or contributing, wakes up any day and wakes up, damn, I got to labor for money today. I mean, I said that the other day. Like, I don't ever feel like I feel challenged here? Do I feel like, yeah, fuck, today's going to be a hard day?
Right.
But that's a good thing. Yeah. I don't ever feel like, fuck, I don't want to go in there today.
No.
You know, and this office has changed lives of everybody here. So
yeah.
I think the one thing that I've always wanted to know, because I don't think I've ever asked you this,
sure.
What is your superpower?
Well, I always say that I have adamantium claws, right?
I like that.
It's a couple of things. Number one, I'm almost free of judgment. So, like, be you, bro.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. Now, if you're lazy, I'm gonna judge the shit out of that. Yeah, right. If you're being a victim, I'm gonna judge that. But just for as far as who you are, man, let's be ourselves. There's not another Perry. You're gonna try to put me in a box. You're gonna get really disappointed really quickly. Or you're probably, most of the time when people put me in a box, it's not a good box. I mean, I'm 6'3", I'm in decent shape, I'm pretty handsome, and I'm pretty successful. So immediately people put me in some kind of box, right?
Of course.
Usually it's a douchebag box or a liar box. And if you do that and you don't get to know me, you're going to hate me quickly, right? So number one, I think one superpower is that I just genuinely don't judge. You know, you're asking about the den. The other thing that's important in the den, the thing that I think most sales organizations fail because of, is back to that superpower. And that is, whoever's at the top was successful, right? And he was successful because he was really good at dialing, or he's really good at Facebook, or he's really good at this. So what I always say is, I have adamantium claws. And if I bring Nick in and I bring you in and I go every day, I'm like, okay, man, get those claws out. Ready? Go. Right. And then we just teach all these classes on trying to get people to get their claws out. We're never going to find out that you're faster than a speeding bullet. So all I want to do is support you the best that I know how to, or the best that A, I know how to, and B, I have time to, because it's getting less and less, until you figure out what the fuck your superpower is. Because there's no two people in this room that have the same superpower.
Correct.
And so I think that's where sales organizations usually fail, is that everybody goes, well, Perry, what you do isn't duplicatable. And I'm like, well, no shit, it's not duplicatable. I'm the best in the world at this. But you can be the best. You're the best Nick Overby in the whole world. Like, there's not a better Nick Overby. Why don't you just go do that? Like, whatever the hell that is. And so, so my superpowers would be that, that I'm extremely open-minded, and I don't need other people to be me for me to feel powerful. I know I'm special. So I don't need I don't need to take credit for what you do for me to feel special, right? Where most people, they need to control other people. Man, I'm good. I'm really confident in myself. I don't need to feel good and take credit for what you do. Enough so that it's yours, man. Like, go, bro. Like, I'm good. Number three, I am really good at making a really complex problem sound simple.
Amen. That is the damn truth.
which I feel like all this talking I'm doing might be the opposite of that. But I'm like super fucking good at that. Like I can, like, you know, when I walked in, they go, okay, here's how you sell. And then they go on for an hour and a half. And then they tell the person the price, right?
Yeah,
You're like, well, you just wasted an hour and a half and you didn't even know what this person's price point was.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
We wasted both y'all's time.
Yeah. And my time is worth a lot of money.
Oh,
like, you know,
I watched you close deals. Yeah. Like 13-minute stops.
Yeah. But completely compliant. The client understands this shit better than they did if you spent an hour and a half on it. Cause they're sleeping through that.
And here's the thing is that they are laughing and asking you to call them back when you're done.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. 100%. So, I think those would be my primary superpowers.
Right on.
Just, you know, yeah, that's probably it. Or maybe I'm full of
shit. You got like 10 more, but look, so I would love to sit here and talk with you all evening.
Yeah.
But because I know better and we both have things to do.
Right.
So
my time is very fucking
on topic. So is there anything else that you want to leave for my listeners? We have had a decent following so far, so I'd expect it to grow a little bit more. Anything you want to tell anybody?
Yeah, be you. Stop trying to be me.
Fuck yeah.
I mean, I can barely be me. It's time consuming as shit. Right. So don't be the healthy insurance dad or the healthy health insurance duder. Right. Shut the fuck up. Go be you. Be your own superpower. Nobody's falling for your bullshit. And work harder, man. Like, know your shit and work harder. Oh, don't call me. I don't want anybody to call. You can call me, Nick. That's it. All right. Nobody else. Please stop calling me. Please stop sending me emails that say you just need 5 minutes of my time. That's why I don't really do interviews.
You realize how long it took me to get him to give me 25 minutes? You guys, I've been here for 10 months. All right. You just stop it.
Right. Email Nick. He's got all kinds of answers. He's your man.
All right, Perry, I appreciate your time, brother. It's always a pleasure. I love you too.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for paying attention.
That was fast.
Yeah, right. It goes quick. We're at 28 minutes.
Right. So I didn't even say anything.
I know, right? I'm telling you, you literally could do this all day. So
magic. Okay.
All right. We're done.
Bye.
Bye, guys. Thank you.